Hi everyone, welcome back to the Stay on Your Bike podcast, and this week is part 2 of the Paul Bolton episode. One thing I remember you mentioning to me when I first met you was, when you were really getting into the mountain biking at the time, and you were mentioning, if you could have gone back in time, you wouldn't have minded giving the mountain biking a go, even over, the motorbiking. Um, obviously I've ridden with you. You're super fast on the mountain bike and got all the skills. It's still handlebars and tires and suspension in it, so it's good.
Yeah,
And I think um, I think it's easier going downhill on a mountain bike than it is on a motorbike. You might feel a different story. Although after watching what Johnny Walker did at Hardline, that was like insane, impressive. But to you, it might be a different story.
no, no. I think I was. I mean, talking about Johnny first, like what he did there, he told me that he had to be so precise in where he landed because he wouldn't have been able to brake. And obviously, the mountain bikes can pull up so much easier. They can make small adjustments. They can change it in the air a lot easier. I mean, you can do it on a motorbike, but you need a bit more time. And one thing I don't think you have, we have a lot of airtime on hardline, but I don't think you have much time to make like little decision changes because you're just committed once you're into some of them parts, aren't you? Watching it from the outside, obviously. But going back to the mountain bike, sort of over moto for me, I had the decision. I came from trials and I'd had a bit of a taste of what motorbikes enduros were about, and obviously I'd seen you guys, Pagey and Warner and Petey, you three having a right good time doing stuff, and just I think it was just it must have just been magazines as well. I don't even know where I found these magazines or whatever
Oh,
because there wasn't a big.
there was
But
we had a good magazine culture in the UK at that time.
yeah,
I think mountain biking UK and Dirt, especially Dirt magazine, that was like a bit more, a bit cooler and more hardcore than MBUK. MBUK was
yeah,
always fun times, but it was all set up. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't,
yeah.
which Warner obviously played up because that's his thing in it. But I think, yeah, the magazines, well, especially for me, because I never got to the level that Steve did. Steve was, the best in the world at downhill, but we all probably looked better on our bikes in the magazines than we actually were. You know,
But I used to see it obviously in the magazines, and I was like, that looks like they're having good fun. And
yeah,
obviously going into the motorbike world, and you go and sample what a, because I didn't really know about hard enduro at this point, and you go and sample what a British enduro's like, the time card enduro GP style, and it's a big long day out on your bike, and you have to be super organized from your time card to where your fuel's being sent to in the morning, and you have
yeah,
to make sure you've eaten enough food because you can't take enough with you,
yeah.
and it's like it's an organizational nightmare, and I'm not organized one bit, to be fair. And I did get better over the years, but I'm a bit all over the show because I can't decide on what I want. And and then I saw you guys obviously just doing that, like a 5 minute run.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like,
So
that
a
looks
bit more to it.
miles better. That
Yeah,
looks miles better. And obviously, motorbikes haven't done me any harm. But I would have liked to have sampled, a bit of what you guys had because in our side, we still had a good crack, especially in the generation that I went through it. We still had good fun, but it wasn't the same sort of level that you guys sort of hit it at.
Yeah. I mean, I did it for a lot shorter period than Steve and even Rob and those guys. I got into it a bit later, but you know, obviously I've ridden with you. I've Billy's been up here and he's done a race and he was super fast. Obviously, Manny's super fast. He even raced I think he done Leo Gang World Cup a couple of seasons ago,
Yeah,
didn't
he
he?
did. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, out of all you guys, do you think if you'd have all give the downhill World Cup a go, do you think you could have been successful in that as well as how you were in your own sports? And who do you think would be the most successful out of all the motorbike enduro guys if they'd have, concentrated on downhill?
Wow, that's a good one. I think we could have definitely done well,
Yeah,
but
100%.
to to sort of go and say that you're going to be top 5 or top 10 with how close everything actually is in that game. I mean, it's nuts what a second splits, and yeah, I think it would be just down to who could risk the most and stay the most online, and then you've got to say Billy's going to risk the most, but he wouldn't stay online everywhere.
Yeah,
Manny would know when to risk it,
yeah,
but he'd definitely stay online.
yeah,
Um, and then one of the smoothest guys who he does a bit of mountain biking, but he's not obsessed like me, Manny or Billy, um, is Johnny Walker. And now he can stay online and he can go really fast.
great.
But whether he could transfer that to mountain biking, if he'd have had the chance back in the day, I don't know.
I
Yeah,
guess thinking about yeah, there's so many different characters and different people that do all the different sports, isn't there? Like what I've
yeah,
noticed, and I was laughing with somebody the other day, um, since I've been going motorbiking again, especially enduroing. I haven't been motocrossing for years, but the typical people that go motorbike enduroing compared to mountain bikers, they're a lot tougher and like rougher, even looking than the guys that
yeah.
do mountain biking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the thing is, a motorbike takes so long to look after. You
Yeah,
don't get the time to look after yourself.
yeah. But what I mean is, they're all a lot of the guys that do it are like flipping scrap metal workers or
Yeah,
flipping road workers. You know, they're tough, big fellas. Do you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And a
yeah,
lot of mountain bikers, they're like quite well. To be honest, for a motorbike enduro guy, Johnny Walker's pretty like
yeah. He's slick. Yeah, yeah. He's
like
polished. He's slick. Yeah, yeah. But then, yeah, you move through the ranks, and you soon sort of, yeah. You don't see anybody sort of like really dressed up properly and just got the right kit on at the right time. Manny knows how to do it.
and
Manny also knows how to do it.
he kind of looks a bit
Yeah.
like a mountain biker,
Yeah, he does. He's took it on. He's took it. He just wants to be one. He does.
doesn't he? Whereas all the mountain bikers want to be moto dudes.
Exactly, exactly. We've talked about that so many times.
Yeah.
But the question that you just asked me regarding, who would be sort of best at downhilling if they went to downhilling back in the day, who in all the years you've been riding mountain biking, who would be the best at? Well, I'm going to give you two ones here. Who would be the best at going to a motocross track or going to motocross, sort of just getting an MXGP, or who would be the best at hard enduro that you can think
Well,
of?
so I haven't rode motorbikes with a lot of mountain bikers, but um, um, Sam Hill is insane
Stands out.
on
I
the
know
motor.
you've said Sam's. I know you've told me about Sam riding with you a few times.
And Sam doesn't, like he doesn't blow his own trumpet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Greg Minnar was really fast on a motorbike for a mountain bike.
yeah,
I know he did it before. Um, Now we went to, I know like Sam told me he spent a lot of time on a motorbike in Southern California when he rode for like the Iron Horse team back in the day because his team manager was
yeah,
close by to Temecula and stuff. And when Sam was younger, I think basically Troy Lee Designs lent him a bike, and he was a young guy, didn't have any ties, and he just basically went motoring every day. He said for about 5 weeks, and he did motocross as a kid, so he had the background. Um, but he did like the day in the dirt race. I remember him telling me he was battling with David Knight, and I mean Knight
Ah,
was
yeah.
super fast, wasn't he?
What a talent. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All rounder as well. All
And,
rounder.
and Sam told me he actually passed Knighter, and he got really pissed off because some mountain biker had passed him and tried to knock him off.
That sounds just like Nike.
So, but that kind of puts into perspective, how good Sam is on a motor.
Yeah,
Well, considering he doesn't do it super regularly.
yeah,
And we went, and then in recent years, maybe 18 or something, Sam had just won the Enduro World Series mountain bike title, but he's always been into motorbikes, and he asked, could we go to Dorno Land on the way um, to the last round? I think he'd already wrapped the season up. So I took them all to Dorno Land. I mean, Elliot's fast on a motocross bike. He raced as a kid at a pretty good level, I think. Um, and then Brendan turned up with all his YouTube guys, and they were like, I think they had some budget for Monster to do like a program, and Brendan's good. Obviously, Bernard Kerr's pretty good on a bike to even
yeah,
try and get to that year when he was trying to do A1. That
yeah.
was impressive. But I remember Sam on the track. He was a lot faster than everybody else of the mountain.
Yeah.
Other than there was a French kid there who rode for Giant called Ewan Deneau, and he actually looked like it to me. Not as a high level motorbike rider, he looked like a pro motocross rider. Ewan Deneau.
Yeah, yeah. With the technique though, French style.
He was going
Just
up the takeoffs like flipping Ken Roxon, like scrubbing up the takeoff stuff. And I was just like, holy shit. And he's a quiet French kid. And I think like
yeah.
probably Brendan and them boys who were like, were the bollocks. They were like, holy shit. But yeah, I mean, I think like I was saying for you guys, any top mountain bike guys that have rode motorbikes could have probably done good in motocross as well,
Mhm.
or enduro. Enduro wise, I don't know, but I know when I went to do the Mick Extance thing, I don't think Sam had actually done any enduro, but I remember Mick saying to me, "That dude is unbelievable on a motorbike." Like he said, "Go up that hill," and Sam just went up it like it was nothing, and he
Right.
like a log. Mick had like a log section, with logs that he was, doing his training skills, and obviously he wanted to show off a little bit, so he like wheelied over the three of them, which you do no problem. Sam just first lap just straight over them like he was on Supercross whoops, and then we were like, holy shit! But yeah, Mick was pretty impressed with him. Like,
Yeah. Well, phenomenal talent on a mountain bike, wasn't he?
I think he's
Still
just
is.
just he's got such good balance and bike riding and eyesight and everything. He'd probably do good at the motorbiking. If he'd have done motorbiking, I reckon he'd have been
Yeah.
successful too. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a shame we don't have the time and the money and all the everything else to all do a bit more all together in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be good, like a shootout to
Yeah,
sort of just if nothing else, just the crack of it all, because it would be a giggle, wouldn't it?
yeah. But saying, on people that have done different disciplines more back in the day, when I got into mountain biking racing in my sort of mid 20s, I was racing against Woody and like I say, Nibs and Mick and those guys, and I kind of like I guess I beat those guys, and then Rob, and I was never as good as Steve apart from the odd like dual race where I could maybe beat him in the odd time, um, and then I got closer to sort of Rob as I got after a few years, but I didn't realize how good these guys were in their own sports, before
Yeah,
mountain biking. Um, because I'd only done BMX as a kid up until 17, and then I didn't really ride bikes for years. Just
yeah,
looked I think the enthusiasm and my BMX background, and then I did a bit of, I wasn't even that good at BMX. I wasn't ever a big kid. I was good on my bike, but I wasn't like fast at the nationals because I
Hmm.
wasn't strong enough pedaling. But then a
Yeah,
bit of motocross before I did the mountain biking. So I think the bit of motocross and my BMX skills helped with me with downhilling.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I even competed with some of them guys with how good they were at motorbiking. I didn't
And
realize.
the different experiences they had leading up to it.
But I
Yeah,
think like you've mentioned to me before, my biking was more just going out and messing about with my mates like you did, and
yeah,
how you get good and passionate about it, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. It's how you've got that fire in your belly to actually get better. But your number one goal is to beat the guys having fun.
Yeah,
And then you can always go, even if you have a bad day, you can always say, well, at least I had a laugh with my mates,
yeah, yeah.
and it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah.
You
Um, well, anyway, tell us a little bit about because I know you've done and you helped me when you come out with me, and you definitely helped me Diamant a lot. But tell us a bit about all your coaching, and now you've got your dirt, your motorbike shop as well with all your components and stuff. Tell us a bit about that.
Oh, well, yeah, where do you start with that? Um, I had to start the shop up basically because there was a tire company called Golden Tire.
Yeah,
Um,
had some of those.
and they were like the only tire you could have, and I'd done a bit of development with them, and obviously they were the only tire to have. And then, long and short of it was, they just said they're not sponsoring any privateers anymore. So, see in a bit, and I was like, well, what if I import them into the UK then? So I ended up buying, I don't know, 20 front tires and 40 rear tires or something, whatever it was, and some mooses. I was still truck mechanicing at the time, but I knew I needed these tires, and I didn't want them to cost me as much money as I knew I needed to spend, for tires. And anyway, yeah, Lisa was head teacher, and I was truck mechanicing, so I was passing them up at work and just sending them out, and whatever it made, that was it. That's how it just covered my tire bill, and then it all sort of just snowballed really, and all fell into place a little bit. Being sort of being established in the sport for a long time and trusted, and people saw what we were up to. And Lisa stopped being a teacher, and she came traveling with me doing it because I was a long time away from home. Me and Lisa have been together since kids, basically.
Yeah,
And yeah, and then when we come back from the like couple of years traveling of doing it all and racing around the world, doing everything from the outdoors to the indoors, we just snowballed Dirt Bike Spec, and everything fell into place a little bit. And now it's like a full business, and we've got we're a full retail business, and it's just going the right place. And the whole ethos behind it is all the products that we've found from racing. And I smashed a clutch cover, and it cost me a podium at the tough one.
yeah,
When it was a world round.
yeah,
I need a better clutch case. So you need a billet one instead of like a magnesium alloy one, and then a rear chain guard that I wrapped. I was in a qualifying position for X Games in 2014 in Austin, Texas, and I didn't qualify because I used the standard chain guide at the back, and ended up DNFing. And all these little things and all this experience, we've just put it into a shop that sells the best kit you can buy on, and it is a bit more expensive, but it comes with warranties. It comes with sort of guarantee that it's going to work, and a trusted review that's cost me in the past. So don't buy that cheap one, or don't buy that one because it just doesn't work.
yeah,
Buy this stuff because it's the proper stuff.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Dirt Bike Spec now. So
And with your training schools, because you've done a lot of that over the years, you used to
yeah,
talk about that stuff, um, and I think especially for hard enduro, it's such a benefit to have a training day with someone like yourself, just to give you the show you how to do the pointers and stuff
yeah,
through the obstacles that you need to do for hard enduro. I guess that goes hand in hand with Dirt Bike Spec as well, because somebody comes along like myself, books on a training day. sees what you've got on your bike and sees the benefit of having all those, them parts that you really need for hard enduro. I guess it's a good thing that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, yeah, it does. But my training schools are not are not like a sales pitch to anything
Oh,
to that. And if they ask questions about this, do they need this or that? And depending on the rider, I'll tailor something to them. But my training schools are all about trying to build confidence and have a laugh out there, because that's when you're riding the best. These guys have, they're having a day off work. They don't want to be slaughtered. But I give them plenty of homework to go home with, and and I point them in the right direction, and try to scrub out some big sort of, not mistakes, but the things that they're not doing correct, and try to put in some better technique, so then they can start to build and progress in a better structured way.
Yeah, I mean, when you come up here the other month with Media Man, it's fun, like just blasting up hills, like where we went, up the Bings or in the woods and stuff. But there's so many techniques that you need to learn that you explained to me that's not as fun, and it's a bit
Yeah,
boring. It's really frustrating because at first you can't do it. It's like when I used to do some mountain bike coaching, and people would turn up and say, on their email, they'd be like, "Oh, I need to learn how to do drops and jumps because my friends pull away from me." And then they'd turn up and they couldn't even do a wheelie or a flipping,
yeah,
or they didn't have
yeah,
body position right going through a corner, so they break in a corner and pedal out of a corner or whatever. Whereas with the motorbike enduro, there's so much stuff to learn that I haven't learned and I can't do, which then doesn't allow me to do certain things just going out on the trail.
yeah. There is a lot. I mean, I'm sure if we spoke to one of the boys from the downhill, they would pick up on some things that you might not pick up on, and things like that these days, just like I would if I was to speak to Manny these days, and he'll be talking about some stuff that I'd not even thought of, and
Yeah.
opened my mind to some stuff as well. But no, you're right. It's when you with the motorbike stuff, you've not only got the downhills, you've got the uphills as well. So that's a completely different style of riding. And obviously, you've got the power. You've got in longer races, you've got even just down to looking after the bike. Avoiding the gear lever on rocks just for something so simple. And if you do drop it, you drop it in a way that it's not going to break.
Yeah,
And you're not going to have to fix something, and you're aware of
the
even just
opposite
like
of what I do.
yeah, kind of not that, yeah, just even just down to the silliest thing of like the fuel taps on the left hand side on my bike, and I know exactly where it is, and if I'm dropping my bike, I'm kind of aware that fuel tap's there, and I don't want to snap that off the fuel tank, and how many people can be in that mindset when you're in a tricky situation and it's all gone wrong, and you're still aware of them things before you sort out where you put your feet and how you then where the bike's going to land, but you're also not thinking about your feet, you're just dealing with that as it's happening.
Yeah.
And that's what I always say on my training schools. You need to be so good at the controls, from the throttle to the clutch to where your feet are on the pegs to all this stuff. It needs to be just second nature. And then when all that's second nature, then you can focus on where you want to go and what you want to do. And I'm sure you'd agree in mountain biking that these boys are not thinking about how much pressure to put on the front brake. They're not thinking about how much pressure to put on each pedal at whatever point in the ride, or if they should be arse over the back or head over the front. They're just concentrating on one thing, and that's the line they need to hold.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's all relatable to mountain biking, especially the moto enduro. I think moto enduro is more relatable than motocross, uh,
Yeah,
downhilling, I think.
yeah, a bit more similar. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, motocross and supercross is glamorous, and you've got the massive jumps and all that, which I guess is mountain biking is getting more like that as well. But for me, I find it more relatable. You know, I know like what Roots do and an off camber does. It's just
Hmm.
controlling the motorbike for me is a lot different to the mountain biking. But the more I ride it, the more comfortable I get on the motorbike, and then I don't have to think as much. It becomes more like riding my mountain bike where I don't really think too much. You know, you just do
Hmm.
it. Uh,
Yeah.
but there's so many things to learn for the climbs and getting the grip on the motorbike that you don't have to do on a mountain bike up until now we have e-bikes and we try hill climbs on the e-bikes and stuff, which is quite relatable. um
E-bikes are my favorite thing in the world. Like,
well, I was just about to ask that. I mean, do you think now that e-bikes are available and that they've got to a certain level, is that going to bring a lot more motorbike riders into trying mountain biking, do you think?
I think it already has, Nige. I think it already has the opportunity. Most of the guys at Erzberg this time, because you need to go on you need to go and inspect the track. Most of the guys were inspecting the track on the e-bikes, as in there's only the prologue, not the main race for somebody's final. But yeah, e-bikes are, one of the. It's my favorite tool for going training
Yeah,
because you can go as hard as you want for as long as you want, or you can have a chiller on and just keep having just going doing sick drops and
yeah,
just dropping different parts of a hill or whatever and
yeah.
just enjoying your day out. But the one thing I love about the mountain bikes most is the quiet.
Okay,
You
right.
know, I don't get me wrong. I love the sound of a two-stroke in third gear ripping up a hill climb. I love it in a deep burble.
I noticed
But
that when we went up the Bings.
but literally, when I'm going down a hill and all you can hear is your tires, and I think it's just it's a refreshing for me anyway,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like a bit of a day off doing the day. It's a day off, some noise, but doing exactly the same thing nearly.
yeah, yeah. Fair enough. So say you had to go and ride the Red Bull Hardline track or something similar, because I know it's fairly extreme. Would you be more comfortable doing that on your dirt bike or your e-bike
Hmm.
or your downhill bike?
Well, I'm absolutely crap at jumps on my downhill, but I do not know what's happened to me these days.
I
But I'm not doing it enough. I'm going to like Diffie once every 6 months,
don't know, is
and
it?
and it's not enough. So I'd have to really ramp up and build up to any kind of easy jump, let's say, for this level that's out there these days. Um, I would be, oh man, I think I would probably say the motorbike.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, just because I know it a bit more. I know how it responds. Um, but yeah, it'd be a big ask. I don't think I'd be that keen on a sign up to it. If I'm honest, not at 46.
no, no, no. Fair enough.
But ask that question to 30-year-old me, and I'd have been like, can I go tomorrow? Probably.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, with um, I think more with motorbike, especially extreme enduro over downhill. Obviously, Greg Minar's done phenomenal up until into his 40s. I think Steve won his only world championship when he was in his mid 30s. But mid 30s now isn't like mid 30s.
No,
When I got into mountain biking in my mid 20s, late 20s, I remember I think I've told you this before. Warner told me um, once we got to 30, it's all over, Pager. We're too old. And then that was in my head then thinking, shit, yeah, we're older than most dudes. I've no chance now. Whereas 30 now is nothing, is it? For
no, it's nothing.
um, but you went and competed at the first British Extreme down in South Wales, and I was watching the footage, and there's some younger guys that look wilder than you. They're doing like some bigger gaps and gnarlier looking things, but then you just smoked them in the race because of your skill level and your technique. Is that and then obviously Graham Jarvis last week at Erzberg, he started on the second row. What, he's 50 years old, early 50s, and he
Yeah,
got all the way to what, eighth place or something.
yeah, it was nuts.
Is
Yeah,
the, do you boys just have that much more skills on the technique than the younger ones? Is that how you can still beat them in these events?
yeah, I think so. And I would still like to say that I don't think I'd be out of turn saying that if I was fit enough and strong enough, like I have been in the past, to put some time in, I could still finish Erzberg now,
I,
just because I know how to position and put the bike, and I know not to commit to something that's going wrong. I know when to bail out and then go and have another go, and
yeah,
not wasting that time. Or I know if I'm high enough up something, just to start grafting and getting it out. And
yeah,
then there's always a little calculation in your head all the time, isn't there? Is it better to go down for another go, or is that guy going to then get a position, or is there's nobody waiting down there, but I could just graph this out now because I'm already at a point that I'm a bit higher. But if I don't make it to this point, then I've got more graphed on, and I've been down to turn around and try again. It's like there's so many calculations working all the time, and I think the older you get, the more experience you get, and I think experience is just nuts. And I think we touched on it just a bit earlier. The kids who are doing what they're doing now, they're gaining so much experience from other people's experiences, and that's why we're seeing this period of time where there's younger riders doing stuff that when we were riding, these younger riders wouldn't have been doing anywhere near and wouldn't have been touching the top boys at the time. But because of that experience is sped up with training, with coaching, with this, with that, and technology of the bikes. I mean, Jesus. Yeah, I think that's why we're seeing people younger come into it and doing well.
yeah, fair enough. Um, and some of these younger kids that are coming through, that they're pretty young. They haven't had the experience of what you've done for many years in the extreme enduro. Do they not reach out and get get help from you? I'm not saying they might be fitter and they might be able to do a bigger jump or a gnarlier gap or whatever, but surely there's loads of things that you could coach with some of
Mm-hmm.
the top athletes to then be challenging Billy and Manny and stuff. Do they
I
not reach
mean, yeah, they do, and I did with Climb, with the clothing company that I'm involved with, massively American-based company. They were obviously supporting the last 2 years um, of the Climb Junior Camp, which was really good. We even did like a booklet of like how to get prepared for a race, and then a bit notes at the end to try to say what worked, what didn't work for the race that time, so they could start to create the whole the process was about trying to create a picture of what works leading up to a race, what works during a race, and what can you change for the next one that could, or test in practice before, or just to create a picture of what works for them. So to, like we said about the gearing earlier on, what works for me might not work for you. And we were trying to sort of get a clearer picture of what works for each individual,
yeah,
and that's where we're at. And obviously now it's all gone a bit Pete Tong with everything at the minute, so it's all fell a bit on the back burner, but hopefully we can get back into that and rekindle it.
nice. And obviously different parts of the world have different styles of tracks, don't they? But I watched a couple of events a few months ago, and they were like extreme events in the desert in America.
Yeah,
I think there was one somewhere near
King
California,
of was it King of Motos or King of the Hammers or something, probably something like that. I think it is.
something like that. And there was Cody Webb was doing it because he was
Yeah,
promoting the Yamaha thing he's doing. I think Tristan Hart was at it. The young wild guy that rides for Husqvarna. He's got
yeah, Ryder LeBlond.
yeah.
Yeah,
So the event that I watched, that looked in some ways even gnarlier than some of the things at Erzberg and stuff. Is that the case, or what? It's different, right?
Um, I've ridden in the place. I know what you're talking about now, and I've ridden in that place, but in a different area. And when you've got a gummy tire on, a soft tire, literally you can go anywhere. The hardest thing is trying to keep the front end down. When you're going up these things, because the run ups obviously are short, and yeah, it was a killer event. I like the idea with the drop off as well for the shorter sort of faster line. That was good. And then some of the moves that the guys were pulling, yeah, they're young, and the only thing that hurts massively is when you get that wrong, because it's such a bedrock.
That's
When you
right.
get it wrong, the handlebars are snapping off, no question, and other stuff. So, but the way the track was designed, there was the straight line fire up ones, and then there was also a way they could have like wound up it as well if they'd have wanted. So yeah, if you want to win it, you've got to go straight.
Yeah. And you get, like, I remember back in the day when I was doing some downhill World Cups, and I'd go to an event in America and get absolutely smoked by some guys in America that on the terrain that they were used to, and then they'd come to Europe and it'd be a World Cup in Switzerland or something, and I'd absolutely wipe the floor with them, and I couldn't get my head round that. You've got PE that could do well on anything. But is that the case in hard enduro? Would them guys be
Yeah.
able to beat Billy and Manny potentially on their own terrain?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Tristan, yeah. Cody, when Cody's on full fire, then Cody's still a force to be reckoned with for sure. But I would say Manny certainly is on another level at the moment. And them guys, I don't think it matters on the event that they go to, even if they've got experience there. I think Manny will just tactfully follow them for a bit, learn off them, and then just drop them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's so good at that. He's so good at that. But talking about different mountain bike tracks, I remember going for my first time to Morzine with my iron horse way back in the day, and we had such a good time. And we went, what's the place which was the one your famous run on the commentary? What was it called?
Champre, the real steep one.
Champre. So it must have been a year or 2 years after that, and then literally I took Lisa down it.
Oh, you did.
I did.
Oh, but
She still had she had we were on 26-inch wheels, specialized demo. Man, my iron horse Sunday must have been 26-inch wheels, eh?
Yeah,
it would have been. Of course it would. Yeah, it would. Yeah. And we ended up down it, and ended up having to just get both our bikes down and Lisa. So it was a right day out. I think we might have even missed the lift back as well, because it took that long for us to get down it.
Oh, yeah, I bet she was buzzing with you that day, wasn't she?
Yeah, but then I did go back and do it on my own the day after, because I wanted to actually see if we could ride down everything, and sort of rode down everything.
Well, I mean, when you come here, you're really good on the steep stuff, because obviously, it's all your eyesight and looking at the terrain and your confidence in it with biking.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff you ride down on your motorbike, all that weight, surely on the mountain bike you can stop quicker. The bikes are good. It might be as daunting as it. I'd imagine if a motocross rider came and did this and they'd never done it before, they wouldn't be as good as you on like steep technical tracks.
Yeah, I'd like to say that obviously the background I've got is always been about control, and obviously feel of the brakes. But one thing, yeah, for sure, I would sooner go down something steeper on, I think most of the time on my mountain bike, for sure, or certainly on my e-bike with a bit more weight and they're just a bit more planted. But then what you got to remember on the motorbike is them knobblies on dirt.
Yeah,
when you pull, sometimes you can pull with 3 fingers on the front brake in Romaniacs. You're going, what? A little bit's to save your main finger anyway, your main braking finger, but a lot of it's to save a bit of the power through that, because you've got a lot to do each day. But you can literally pull the thing so hard and they pull up. Yeah. But
You
then
don't
the
deflect off.
negative of motorbikes, as you know, Nige, when you're going down the hills, is the back brake's on the right side, and if you need your right foot down on the floor in a slow section, then
Screwed.
you've no back brake either. So, and you can't really let it slide down just in case it bump starts. So, yeah, you're very dependent on the front brake.
Yeah, I mean, I've just because it was ages since I rode the motorbike. So when you came up the other week, the other month, I've even in I was the first few times I went on it, I was like, shit, I can't ride on these things anymore. I've forgotten altogether. Then I started getting a little bit better, and each time I go out now, I'm getting slightly better and more comfortable, remembering what to do. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's like I've got a lot more relaxed going down hills now on my motorbike again. Um,
yeah, you can trust them, can't you?
I've just learned the what they are over the mountain bike is they're so stable, and the suspension,
Mm.
the front forks are amazing. Like you hit things that you think, if I was on my, because I'm obviously thinking I'm on my mountain bike and I think I'm going to get deflected off something, and the motorbike just plows through it because it's so heavy. Um, but like you say, it does get scary for me when I want to take my foot off, and I've got to keep my foot off my back brake. Uh,
Yeah,
Getting used to feathering because my front brake's on the opposite side on my mountain bike. So
I've never worked that out with motorbikes at all and mountain bikes.
no, well, I did more biking as a kid, so I always had a back brake on the right. I mean, when you jump on a motocross track, you don't use the brakes as much as in enduro or I
Yeah,
way. So it was never a problem. But when I first did enduro and I had to go down some steep hills at, say, Nantmark Quarry, um,
yeah.
I'm terrified, like, because I didn't have the mod. I didn't feel like I had the same modulation with with the front brake was here. It was just freaking me out. Um, but yeah, it's cool learning, and yeah, it's good. But the guy that I had to go on the bike on his beater I was mentioning to you, he has his back brake on the handlebars. He's got like
Is
some
it is
weird.
it a, yeah, is it a weird clutch lever setup job, everything?
Yeah, it's like two.
Yeah.
Use a different finger for
Was
the.
it a gold was it a gold top?
I can't remember.
Might have been I think it's a brand called Clake, I think. Australian brand. They do
Like,
some really quality stuff, and they've got some quite different setups for people who. He might have even had a recluse clutch in it, which makes it like more of an auto clutch. So,
right.
but when in hard enduro, they're a bit of a disaster for hard enduro, that style of thing,
Are they?
because when it stalls, because sometimes it still can stall, it just rolls back, freewheels backwards because there's no load of the clutch. Yeah. So anyway, it's just called a Clake. It's not. I think it's called a Clake anyway.
Right.
Not the. They're all right.
It's a fancy bit.
Good for someone.
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously he's a lot more uh, faster rider than I am on a motorbike, but and a more experienced. But he said he loves it. I don't know what. I don't know if he does as much hard enduro as I don't think as you do.
No,
Obviously,
a bit more cross country.
yeah, and then time card stuff maybe. I mean,
Yeah,
he was really good at doing them hill climbs you were doing. Obviously,
yeah.
the more you get used to what a motorbike can do, it's incredible them hills that you can go up. When I first got there, I thought, there's no way goes if you commit, it goes, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing better than a two stroke screaming up a hill climb. I mean,
Love it.
I love my e bike. I love how good it is. I love where I can go, what I can do with it, and how much it can take. But nothing will ever compare to a two stroke going up a hill climb in third gear on the pipe.
Pretty,
Nothing will compare to that. Or going down a start straight on a motocross track.
no, it's
You
exactly.
know, nothing will compare to that.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to beat. I think, yeah, yeah, I don't. I think like not that I've done it for so long, but when you can ride a downhill World Cup track at full pace and it all the
Yeah,
features, that's pretty close.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was an adrenaline, but
Maybe as well the G force that them guys take in a turn, like that's. I was following Manny in Morzine a year or two ago, and obviously he's on such a good level of mountain biking, especially in the big resorts. Um, and I couldn't stay with him anywhere near in the turns, and he was just gone. And I was like, my face was moving. Had that much G force going through the turn. He was already pulling time on me, and
yeah,
then for the big boys in that game, for the
yeah.
G force that they can go at, and like the size of, let's say, Jackson Goldstone,
Did you see
he
Jack?
was a tiny dude, and how
Did you see him
how
come into the wall
he
ride?
yeah, unbelievable.
How high he was landing, and
Yeah,
then how fast he come out.
unreal. But look how he's such a tiny dude,
Yeah,
and he must be so strong to withstand the G force he can go through a turn at. It's nuts.
he's like. I mean, they're all amazing, and I've got like, the ones that I like and I sort of get behind. But I think he's got the skill level like equivalent to Jet Lawrence, and he on the
Yeah,
biking. I think at the moment,
but
it's
on technique wise, for me, I just love the way Bruni just
well, he's
puts himself in the right. He just rides the bike. You can see I feel like he's changed the game with how it's obvious how much more he used his legs than others in the last few years. And now all the others, like I see Ronan Dunn the other day doing something, and I was like, wow, he's looking more like Bruni in the legs, and you can just see the legs when they're going through in the back. And I know it's always been a big part through the legs, but it just feels like it's been over exaggerated in the last couple of years.
yeah. Well, you on a mountain bike, like you'll know if you do a long downhill run, your back legs aching like mad in it because
Yeah,
down through your feet to get grip. It's not you don't have to do that on a motorbike because it's so planted in it. But on
yeah,
a mountain bike, you're trying to fight the bike and get it back on the ground again. Uh,
yeah.
and Bruni's got that down to a T. G. Atherton used to lean back a lot and do that. He reminds me of how Ronan is positioned on the bike,
Okay.
whereas Sam was more in the middle, like super balanced.
Yeah,
But Jackson is that light, but he's that good on the bike. He's basically just hopping and bouncing down the track, and he as if he's on a pump
yeah,
track.
yeah. He is. He is.
Insane to
He
watch.
is.
It's
Yeah,
really
it
fun.
is. Yeah, it was good. Leogang was good.
Yeah, it was. That looks one of the scariest tracks to race, in my opinion. Now I'm older and feel like
And I went there last year. So the same event after Erzberg, I went straight there, and I could not believe how steep it was. For when you look at it on TV, I mean, then the flat fast sections, let's say, where they've got to carry the speed, which is a skill in itself. I was so impressed how much speed they could carry into it. But then these top bits, I couldn't believe how steep it was. I was like, Jesus Christ, would I get up that on my enduro bike or not? I was like,
they're attacking racing down it.
yeah,
They're not
yeah,
like
and
braking and skidding down it. They're
no.
attacking it. It's
What
insane.
was that? There was like a jump into the tree stump area. There was like a step down jump that they just made themselves.
Yeah,
I was like, I always hate a blind landing, but everything in downhill just seems
yeah, yeah,
completely blind.
yeah.
But they've got to land on a pad that's like, a couple of, like a foot, if you will, square.
Mhm. Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it is.
all the different disciplines are impressive from, hard enduro to supercross, motocross. Even look at BMX racing now. That doesn't get
Yeah,
talked about a lot outside of BMX racing, but that is, if you go and watch one of them things, it blows your mind, how
yeah,
fast.
it does.
Um, so if Well, we'll wrap it up shortly because I could go on chatting.
I need to get up for a ride anyway soon. I've not been
Yeah.
on my e-bike for a couple of weeks. I'm missing it like mad.
Oh, defo, yeah. Well, you're always welcome, stay at ours. But
Cheers, mate.
who, you've got Manny and Billy, you've got Jet Lawrence and, Eli Tomac, for instance. You've got Jackson Goldstone, Loic Bruni, Amory Pirion. You've got um, all these different people at the different amazing sports. Who impresses you the most out of all of them?
Eli Tomac on a
Eli,
charge.
right?
No, nothing. I don't know. Nothing's more impressive than that guy on a charge.
Yeah.
When he's in his beast mode. It's insane, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure everybody you've just mentioned then will probably agree as well. They might have a different opinion on certain things, but yeah, that guy's terrifying when he's on, and he looks so in control when he's on fire. I
Yeah.
mean, but then you look at your Jet Lawrence and you think, wow, he's so tidy, and it's so clinical to watch in moto, and then you see your Jackson putting it on the line and doing what he does, and Bruni with the sheer power and everything else, and Manny with the clinicalness of what he does. He's like a scientist in the forest, just doing things.
But
But
Billy
then you go back,
more impressive in some of the things from an outsider.
yeah,
What Billy does, you're like, how is that even possible?
yeah,
So, and then last question, what it's like a flipping. This is like a question to answer all my questions I have really. But Tony Bow,
oh
he, he doesn't even look. It looks like AI's doing it to me.
yeah.
Some of the stuff he does. Would he be able to do Bergen stuff?
I mean, yes, of course he would. You can't. We're not going to say he's not. He's going to be able to get the traction. He knows how to be a professional. He knows how to get fit. He knows how to do what he needs to do.
When
Now,
I say do it, I mean win it.
win it.
Yeah,
I don't think. How many years would it take him to win it?
that's what I don't know.
Yeah,
But
because he wouldn't. He wouldn't.
do.
There's not a chance. I don't believe that even if he went now and he went to go, I'm going to go Erzberg next year. He can't win that Erzberg. I don't believe.
So obviously he can do things on a motorbike that no one else can do.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Like
Yes.
he can do. Like what he jumps up and
But he rides everything that, well, most of the stuff that Tony does is with traction, and I know I've seen he can ride the mud as well. Oh my God, he can ride anything. And I ain't gonna ever think about trying to even remotely take anything away from that guy's talent. But Erzberg throws at you some different things like the start. He's got to control not going down with another rider in the start. He's got to ride into dust completely blind. All this stuff takes quite a long time to learn. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you can go and practice on your own in a riverbed or whatever on an enduro bike. You can't control a race. And at the moment, there's only one guy that can control the race, and that's Manny.
right.
And Billy can also think about controlling one for in certain times. So yeah, and I really don't think that Tony Bow could touch Billy in the first 2 years minimum in Super Enduro either.
Okay. But he would probably be able to if he gave the
He
time.
would be able to. He would be able to achieve it. I reckon. Yeah. Yeah.
Think he
Yeah.
will, or is he just too? Is his contracts and whatever too good in for what he does?
I don't know. All I'm reading from the outside looking in at the moment, I just follow it on social media. I don't get too involved in this or that or who's doing what, but I just make up some things myself, whether it's right or wrong. But it looks to me like Honda are trying to do something with the electric trials bike, and I would say that if he could retire winning on an electric trials bike,
Right.
then that would probably start another generation of something different. And yeah, they're putting a lot. Honda look like they're putting a lot of effort in with Fujinami doing the stuff with that electric trials bike, and man, does it look good, you know. So Honda, when Honda want to do something, look at the history at the Isle of Man TT, you know, and then they've just won again out in the Isle of Man on the roads. Honda go about stuff structurally, methodically, and when they want to do something, they'll do it the right way until the time, boom. So and they did it with downhill, and they did it in downhill as well, didn't they?
Yeah. So do you think, you know, I've heard the rumors of Kawasaki. Do you think Honda, Kawasaki will come back in and do some two-stroke enduro bikes? Is the sport big enough for them to bother doing that now, do you think?
I think it all depends on what's happening with KTM and things like that. But sure, if the Japanese companies wanted to jump in at this point in time, it'd be a bloody good time to sort of rekindle some, you know, two strokes and get them working again. That's half of the move why I went with the Cowie. I wanted to sort of see how it goes. Maybe I can speak to somebody in the near future about. I'd love, you know, if they wanted to try and do something that was pretty achievable, it would be having a youth rider in the Super Enduro, because the Super Enduro, we can set it up easy. We can, you know, the bike's not going to get too hammered, and it's a short, compact championship with possible some, you know, a title at the end of it. And, you know, and starting the youth class, there's no need to go straight to the big boy class.
Yeah.
Start there. It's perfect. It's perfect stomping ground for something to come back into dirt bike world.
Yeah, definitely. And if you know, I don't know if you know more than I do. I don't know much about it at all. But is it is it a possibility that KTM, Husky, and Gas are all going to go away?
I don't know. There's so many factors of it, and I've heard some stuff, and I don't even know what's true or what's not true. So I'm not going to speculate. But the last thing I did hear was that they were going to stop doing the gas stuff, and that's obviously, you know, for the motocross bike and the enduro bike, it's sad. But the biggest thing it's sad for is the gas brand of trials, because they've got so much to offer, and maybe somebody buys it back off them or something like that. That would be the best solution for me. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
And like, you might not know the answer to this, but what first thing I thought about, because I've kind of been there and with nuke proof
Yeah,
stuff, is what there's some huge contract paid riders that are contracted through, like in motocross you've got Chase Sexton, and you've got flipping Aaron Plessinger, and then you've got Manny, you've got Billy on
mm-hmm.
what's going on, what will happen with all that?
What? I really don't know. I mean, like you said before, in the mountain bike world, there's so many options, obviously big or small. Not everyone's got a huge budget, and there's a lot of private mountain bike companies out there, isn't there? But with the moto world, we're pretty stuck.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of get what you can at a certain point, I suppose. If the worst case was to happen and they can't continue, who knows? What I do know is they've not brought a 2026 bike out at Erzberg, and normally they would bring a 26 bike out at Erzberg. That would be the time to sort of launch the 26 when the next year's, you know.
Yeah.
So they would have launched it there, and that didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess only time will tell, but
Yeah,
be a bit worrying for all them, because all the top riders really in all the disciplines, that they're all a KTM or a Husky rider, what aren't they?
yeah. Well, KTM are the only ones that are taking it to any of the Japanese manufacturers as well, aren't they? So yeah, and it's still such a big, such a big sport, or an umbrella of sports, if you will, from motocross to enduro to everything else. It does sell. Imagine how many tires are sold per year just across the board from motocross to enduro.
Mad.
It's big, mind-boggling, wouldn't it? And brake pads, and just there's a lot of companies that are involved in the sector but not making bikes, and that for me is the is the biggest sort of makeup of, you know, the whole bubbling pot of money that goes into the systems. And then if you look at the UK, we're not allowed to ride any sort of, we shouldn't get to ride wherever we want, but there should be some designated places, or certainly more private, so you can just go and turn up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't realise how much money's being paid into the system from the guy have a motorbike who's got a van, he's got his insurance for his van and his motorbike, and he's got a motorbike, he's working on it, he's buying stuff from Dirt Bike Spec, hopefully, and we're paying our taxes as well, and and you know, he's stopping for a brew on the way and maybe staying in an hotel. And you know, I always laugh at the fact that we're shot down for being the bad guys in nature. And then I'll often look at the walkers going up to the Lake District, and they take a flask from their house. They drive past all the calves on the way there. They don't go to the pub for the tea afterwards. And it's like, who's more important for society, actually? Yeah.
Well, what blows my mind is living up here. You know, you're not allowed to ride your motorbike up in the forest or the hillside, and then all of a sudden they just rip up the whole
Hack it
up with all the machines and just leave it. It looks like a nuclear war's been there.
Yeah, exactly. It's mine. It's weird. I don't know why they would do it.
Yeah. Well, I guess if the government were all the type of people that wanted to get on the two strokes and do some hill climbs, it'd be a different story, wouldn't it?
It could be. It could be. It'd look like a nuclear bomb had gone off still.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, one last person I wanted to ask you about. I will laugh about this because she thinks I'm a super fan. But how good is Carson Brown? That dude is amazing. Like, the stuff he does on the internet is just a little bit different to what a lot of other people are doing, and those challenges he does,
are
amazing.
I was speaking to his. I obviously did a thing with him last year at Erzberg, which was quite funny. I was introducing him to Carl's Diner, and then his camera crew came over to me at the energy station when we were at the TV area, and I was like, "What are you doing next? Have you anything going on?" He was like, "Oh, not much. We're going somewhere else. They've got so many projects over and over again." And he was like, "Why don't you come out to TKO to do something with Carson?" And I was like, "Yeah, I will." So who knows what we're going to do? We might get to do something else with him. But you know what? The biggest thing that shows his talent is, we said it before, a good jockey will ride anything.
Yeah.
And literally, he is that proof. He is that proof. The things he's done on that. What was that big fat wheel bike about? I was like, how has he just gone through that section so fast?
No, he's unreal, and I can't I mean, obviously he's an amazing motocross talent, but when he did that challenge where he raced Manny in the woods and there was some rocks and stuff, and then he went against Plessinger in the woods, and
and Plessinger comes from a cross country background, from the GNCC stuff.
But he absolutely smoked him.
Yeah. I like it. I like how he doesn't take any prisoners either.
No.
It doesn't matter who they are. He really does want to beat them as well.
Oh, it's like, I mean, I don't know if I've watched them all, but the only person I've seen beat him so far is Kenny. But yeah, he's some boy, isn't he? And
yeah, he is.
How, obviously he's not a hard enduro guy. I watched a bit of his, a bit of it. He went out with Manny, didn't he? Doing a bit of stuff, and obviously he's so talented on the bike. He can do things that most people can't. But and he was quite high up in Erzberg on the first part of the race, wasn't he? What kind of happened to him when he got to like Carl's Diner and stuff?
Well, when you go off the start, it's obviously fast, and he is good at that. He went fastest out of everybody in the prologue in the end. So from the guy, obviously Garcia was fastest, but he didn't go down to the main race. Anyway, he gets off the start and he goes heading towards the forest. And just before the forest is a little riverbed. and it's a downhill riverbed. It's dry, and it is like ice, especially with that weather that we had. It's like ice. And Hal would have said that he lost quite a few positions going down there. Just, a lot of the hard enduro boys would have had him there. And then he would have gone further into the forest, gets trickier and trickier. And there's only one line, and they would have probably started picking him off one by one. And then by the time he's got to Carl's dinner on the second one, the second time they visit it, because they go in the beginning and they go towards the end of the race as well.
Yeah.
By the time he got to the second one,
dinner, not Carl's diner.
Carl's dinner. Honestly,
I don't know.
On the live show, if we say Carl's, I'm scarred by it. If we say Carl's dinner, if we say Carl's diner, then it's €10.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So it's Carl's dinner.
Right. Okay.
On the live show, but it doesn't matter now. I just threw that in by accident. Yeah. So your head's pickled down in the mind when you're trying to do a live show as well. Trying not to say Carl's dinner or diner. I can't remember now. My head's gone. Oh, just don't let my production manager see me doing this. But as soon as he got to the second stage of Carl's dinner, he was cooked. He was done, and I don't think he would have got through the Motorex highway or anything like that, because that's it's super unique, that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And have you ever been and done that the Tennessee race that he's done? He done it on a didn't he?
Yeah, TKO. Yeah. Them KXs, them, I know you're a big fan of KDXs and stuff. They're actually a fair weapon for that kind of slippy river situation. Well, because they've not got enough power to spin the wheel.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why I really enjoyed riding mine. Obviously, when I got my new bike, suspension's shitloads better on it. But the actual motor on my KDX, I thought it was really good, easy to ride.
I know that.
Quite low.
Yeah, comfy seat as well.
Comfy seat, which
you wouldn't have a sore arse in that for Romaniacs.
Has anyone done the Romaniacs on a KDX? Surely they have.
They will have done, definitely. Yeah. But I can't picture one. I can't picture one in the gold class.
Right? No.
Can't picture one in the gold class.
Maybe that could be a next project.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see, won't we, with the Cowie thing? Let's see if I can. I'm not good. I've talked about trying to finish from Erzberg. I think I could do it still. If I got prepared for next year, let's say.
Yeah.
Romaniacs. If I started to prepare now, I still wouldn't know if I had the heart and the grit and the determination to finish that race again properly.
Sure, you would if you got involved, but
but it is such a mental torture.
Yeah.
The day, honestly, I can't express to you enough how hard it is.
I can't imagine, but so if as a fan like myself, what would be the best event to go and watch, would you say?
Get some rodeo at the end of the season. Yeah, at the end of the season, it's going to be the last one as well. Really good atmosphere. You can see everything. It's usually around October time.
Okay.
Yeah, plenty of time. Yeah, good beer. It's like a bit of a beer festival as well, and just general shindig and good crack. I'm trying to talk Red Bull into it for a live show again, because we've done it live there before, and it always worked really well.
Right. And you and Warner have done a bit of commentary together at some of the recent events. How does that go?
Oh, he's so professional. I mean, everybody thinks he's just loose all the time, but when he's doing his research, when he's getting into gear, he's super professional, and he's so bloody good at his job as well. Like the way he can deliver that, he goes all in at being an idiot for 1 minute, and then he can be a super professional the next minute, and then But yeah, he's taught me a load, and it's been. I can't wait to work with him every time we go together.
Cool. And is he going to get a lot of those jobs now? Because obviously he's probably more into motorbiking than he is mountain biking. Well, I don't know now about e-bike, but he's always been interested in motorbiking. So, will we see more and more of Rob doing some of the hard enduro stuff? Do you think?
I really don't know. I think it's all a bit up in the air. Everything these days with everything, and certainly with the champion. If the championship had been carrying on like normal, then I would have said yeah. But with the way it's a bit up in the air, if it's going to happen like it's happened in the last few years, and it kind of all depends on the series promoter that's got it now
Yeah.
and where it goes from here, really. But the big iconic races, Warner will definitely be there next year at Erzberg, and if there's any more live stuff, they'll be getting him in for sure.
Brilliant, good stuff. Well, yeah, it's good seeing both of you guys doing it, and you do a great job. So yeah,
Cheers, Nigel.
fingers crossed. Cool. Well, I guess we should wrap it up so you can carry on with doing your house and get to bed and everything else.
Yeah, you've missed out on you've made me miss out on a roller skating do anyway. Lisa and Zach have gone roller skating.
Do you like roller
Well,
skate?
no.
Yeah, that's something I'd probably want to miss out on as well. Yeah, I know.
So I hope everybody's enjoyed it, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I'd
thanks
probably
for having me on board, mate. Wrist, I think.
yeah, wrist, Achilles, everything. I can't. Well, if I don't stick to two wheels these days, it all just goes wrong. So, mate, well, obviously, anyone listening that hasn't followed you in the past, what's the best way of, keeping in touch with what you're doing, and how do they, if they want some parts for the bike or want to book on a training day, is there some channels that are easier to get hold of you on?
Yeah, just you can obviously Instagram's the best way. Paul Bolton Enduro, but the shop stuff is the training school thing. It all sort of falls into one category a little bit. So just message us if you want a good fun day out and learn some tricks of the trade in hard enduro, and yeah, just have a look at that.
Cool, man. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks very much for your time. It's been great chatting. I know we chat anyway, but it's been good chatting on here, and look forward to getting out on the bike with you soon. And yeah, just congrats on an amazing career so far, and long may it continue, mate.
Thanks, Nige. Thanks, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Cool, cool. All right, well, I'll catch up with you soon, and make sure you get up soon on the e-bike and bring the motorbikes so you can give me some more free lessons.
Nice one, man.
All right. Thanks a lot, Paul. See you soon,
See you in
mate.
a bit. See ya.
Okay, well, I hope everyone enjoyed that as much as I did. You can probably tell I enjoyed chatting to Paul there. Bit of a super fan of the hard enduro boys because I'm useless at it. But yeah, super, super good dude. Really good on the bikes and good all round fella. So thanks for that, Paul. Hope you all enjoyed, and please keep tuning in. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Buy Myra a coffee if you're feeling generous because she puts all the graft in behind the scenes. We've got a new t-shirt that I'm gonna order. Stay on your bike podcast t-shirt in Eleathen because that's where we're based. It's a cool mountain bike place. So if you like them, drop us a comment and keep your eye out. Hopefully, I'll have a few of those in stock soon. Yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you all soon. Cheers.
Brilliant.